Polish your personality. Instantly attract anyone. Audiobook. Reading by Coleman Hudson. Published by A1 Audiobook. Introduction. The Unheard Expert. The meeting was a home run, on paper at least. Arthur Vance sat back in his leather chair, the mahogany gleam of the conference table reflecting his perfectly knotted tie. He had the data. He had the slides. He had, by every objective measure, the single best solution to the company's logistics crisis. For 3 sleepless nights, he had polished every bullet point and triple-checked every projection. He knew this material better than he knew his own reflection. Then it was his turn to speak. He stood, cleared his throat, and walked the executive team through his presentation. He laid out the problem with surgical precision. He unveiled his solution with the quiet pride of a master craftsman. He finished, clicked the final slide into place, and looked up expecting a wave of questions, of engagement, of something. Instead, he was met with polite, vacant smiles. The CEO, a man named Gregory, nodded slowly. "Thank you, Arthur. Very thorough. Some good points to consider." And just like that, it was over. The conversation moved on. 20 minutes later, another vice president, a man named Leo, stood up with a booming voice and easy confidence. He repackaged 2 of Arthur's core ideas using a clumsy sports metaphor and no data whatsoever, and presented them as his own. The room lit up. Gregory leaned forward, suddenly animated. "Now that's the kind of outside-the-box thinking we need. Leo, I love it. Let's get a task force on that immediately." Arthur felt a familiar, cold sensation wash over him. It was the feeling of becoming invisible. He sat through the rest of the meeting, a ghost at the table, his brilliant, meticulously crafted solution already forgotten. As he drove home, the same suffocating question that had haunted him his entire career echoed in his mind. Why wasn't I heard? If this story makes you wince in recognition, you are not alone. You are the unheard expert. You're the one who does the work, knows the facts, and has the brilliant idea only to watch someone else get the credit. You're the one at a party who struggles to break into a conversation feeling like you're speaking a different language. You're the one who rehearses a presentation until it's perfect, but when you deliver it, your message lands with a thud. You have a frustrating, invisible barrier between the intelligent, capable person you are on the inside and the way you are perceived on the outside. You know your worth, but you can't seem to get the world to see it. For years, I've seen this pattern repeat itself with clients from every walk of life, from Silicon Valley engineers to courtroom lawyers, from aspiring artists to Fortune 500 executives. They all came to me with the same fundamental problem, though they used different words to describe it. I lack confidence. I'm not charismatic. I'm bad at public speaking. But they were all wrong. Their problem wasn't a character flaw or a missing skill. It was a state of being I call personal dissonance. Dissonance in music is a clash of notes that creates a feeling of tension and instability. Personal dissonance is the clash between your internal state and your external expression. It's the gap between your true competence and your projected confidence. It's when your mind is saying, "This is a brilliant idea," but your tight voice, shifting eyes, and closed-off posture are screaming, "Don't listen to me, I'm not sure about this." Your audience, whether it's 1 person or 1,000, doesn't hear your brilliant idea, they feel your dissonance. And in the face of that conflicting signal, they instinctively disengage, distrust, and move on. It's an exhausting, confidence-crushing way to live. But what if you could eliminate that static? What if you could align who you are on the inside with how you show up on the outside so perfectly that your message becomes undeniable? This is not a fantasy. It's a state of being I call resonance. The core idea of this book is the resonance principle. In physics, an object in resonance vibrates with incredible amplified power. A person in resonance does the same. When your inner beliefs, confidence, and emotions are in perfect harmony with your words, your voice, and your body language, you create a powerful, coherent signal that cuts through the noise. People in resonance are magnetic. They aren't just heard, they are felt. Their ideas don't just make sense, they feel true. They command respect not by being the loudest person in the room, but by being the most congruent. They have it, that effortless charisma, that easy authority, because there is no gap between who they are and who they seem to be. They are whole. This book is your roadmap to achieving that state. Let me be clear. This is not about learning slick lines, manipulative tricks, or a fake power pose. Faking it until you make it only creates more dissonance. This is about something much deeper, more permanent, and more powerful. It's about doing the inner work to build a core of unshakable self-belief, and then learning to broadcast that belief through every word you speak and every move you make. It is the process of polishing your personality until it is a true, brilliant reflection of your best self. Our journey together is structured to be a systematic upgrade of your entire presence. First, we will build your resonant core. In chapters 1 through 4, we will lay the foundation. You will conduct an authenticity audit to discover your unique frequency, rewire the limiting narratives holding you back with the mindset matrix, and forge true, evidence-based confidence through a system of integrity reps. This is the inside job. Next, we will tune your instruments of expression. In chapters 5 through 8, you will learn to master the channels through which you broadcast your resonance to the world. You'll master generous listening to build instant connection, unlock the full power of your voice, command a room with the body language of belief, and structure your ideas into unforgettable stories that move people to action. Finally, we will apply your newfound resonance to the real world in high-stakes scenarios. In chapters 9 through 11, you will learn to maintain your presence under pressure, navigate difficult conversations with grace, and build a powerful, authentic network that supports your goals. What happened to Arthur Vance is not a life sentence. It is a correctable problem of alignment. The world is full of brilliant people whose ideas are locked away behind a wall of dissonance. This book is the key. If you are ready to stop being the unheard expert and start being the person who is seen, heard, and remembered, the person who can effortlessly attract allies and dominate every room with quiet, authentic power, then turn the page. This is your invitation to live in resonance. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Science of Resonance. Why some people just have it. Diego was on the worst first date of his life, and he couldn't understand why.
He'd done everything right. He'd picked a great restaurant, hip but not pretentious. He'd worn the new shirt his sister swore made him look like a movie star. He'd even prepared. On the drive over, he'd rehearsed a few witty anecdotes and a list of engaging, open-ended questions he'd found on the internet. He was armed with a full arsenal of how to be charming. But across the table, Amelia's eyes were starting to glaze over. "So, Diego began, pulling from his mental script, "if you could have any superpower, what would it be?" Amelia offered a tight, polite smile. "Oh, I don't know. Flying, I guess." She took a long, slow sip of water, her gaze drifting toward the bustling street outside the window. The conversation was a series of dead ends. Every time Diego launched one of his pre-planned conversational rockets, it would fizzle and fall silently to the ground. He felt his palms begin to sweat. His heart was hammering against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat of anxiety. He was trying so hard to be interesting, to be charming, to be the kind of guy she would want to see again. But the harder he tried, the more distant she became. What Diego didn't realize was that Amelia wasn't listening to his carefully chosen words. She was feeling his desperate, nervous energy. He was saying, "I'm a fun, confident guy." But his tense shoulders, his slightly too fast speech, and the anxious look in his eyes were all broadcasting a completely different message. "Please like me. Am I doing this right? This is terrifying." Diego was in a state of deep personal dissonance. He was a walking contradiction, and the static was unbearable. Amelia wasn't bored by him. She was exhausted by the effort of trying to decode his conflicting signals. Now imagine a different Diego. Imagine he walks into that date not with a script, but with a quiet sense of self-acceptance. He's not worried about saying the right thing because he trusts himself. He asks Amelia about her day, not because a website told him to, but because he's genuinely curious. He's not performing confidence, he is simply confident. His voice is relaxed. His eye contact is steady and warm. He laughs easily. This Diego is magnetic. He has it. What he has is resonance. From faking it to feeling it, for decades, the advice given to people like the first Diego has been dangerously flawed. Fake it till you make it. Act confident, and you'll become confident.
This is like telling a musician with an out-of-tune guitar to just play with more passion. The result isn't beautiful music, it's just louder, more passionate noise. Faking it creates more dissonance. It's an exhausting, unsustainable performance that only widens the gap between your authentic self and the mask you're wearing. The resonance principle offers a more powerful, more permanent solution. It isn't about faking anything. It's about tuning your instrument. Think of yourself as a tuning fork. Every tuning fork has a natural, inherent frequency. When you strike it, it vibrates and produces a pure, clear tone. Now, if you bring a second, identical tuning fork close to the first one while it's vibrating, something amazing happens. The second fork will begin to vibrate and hum at the same frequency without ever being touched. This is the law of resonance. A person in resonance is like that first tuning fork. They have done the inner work to understand their own natural frequency, their core values, beliefs, and strengths. They have eliminated the internal noise of self-doubt and fear. As a result, they vibrate with a clear, authentic, and powerful energy. And just like that second tuning fork, the people around them can't help but respond. They're drawn to that clarity. They feel that confidence. They trust that authenticity. This isn't magic, it's science. Your inner state is constantly being broadcast, whether you know it or not. And the people around you are subconsciously picking up the signal. Let's look at the machinery behind this phenomenon. Your brain is hardwired for resonance. Your ability to instantly sense whether someone is genuine or off isn't a vague intuition. It's a sophisticated biological process happening in milliseconds. 3 key concepts from neuroscience and psychology explain why resonance is so powerful. 1. Mirror neurons, the brain's Wi-Fi. Have you ever found yourself wincing when you see an athlete take a hard fall? Or felt a surge of joy when you watch someone receive wonderful news? You can thank your mirror neurons. Discovered by Italian neuroscientists in the 1990s, these specialized brain cells fire not only when you perform an action, but also when you observe someone else performing that same action. In essence, your brain simulates the experience of the other person.
Mirror neurons are the brain's Wi-Fi, allowing us to feel a version of what others are feeling, to experience empathy, build rapport, and learn by observation. How this creates dissonance? When Diego tried to tell a funny story while feeling intense anxiety, his mirror neurons were broadcasting a signal of panic and insecurity. Amelia's brain subconsciously picked up on this signal. His words said, "I'm funny," but her brain felt, "He's scared." The conflicting data created a subconscious sense of distrust and disconnection. How this creates resonance? When you're in a state of authentic confidence, when you truly believe in the words you are saying, your mirror neurons broadcast a clear, powerful signal of conviction. The people listening don't just hear your confidence, their brains simulate it. They start to feel confident with you. This is the foundation of true charisma. 2. Emotional contagion. You catch feelings. Emotions are contagious. We've all walked into a room where the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife, or been energized by joining a laughing, joyful crowd. This is emotional contagion, the tendency to feel and express emotions similar to and influenced by those of others. Research from social psychologist Elaine Hatfield shows that we subconsciously mimic the facial expressions, vocal tones, and postures of the people we interact with. This mimicry, in turn, causes us to actually feel a flicker of the emotion they are feeling. How this creates dissonance? When you're trying to hide your nervousness, you create a confusing emotional signal. Your audience senses your anxiety, and through emotional contagion, they begin to feel anxious and uncomfortable themselves. They may not know why, but they'll associate you with that negative feeling and will want the interaction to end. How this creates resonance? When you walk into a room feeling calm, centered, and genuinely enthusiastic, that feeling spreads. You become the emotional pacemaker of the room. Your calm puts others at ease. Your genuine passion ignites their interest. You don't have to manufacture this. You just have to be it, and human nature does the rest. 3. The social engagement system. Your body's broadcast tower. Perhaps the most powerful mechanism is rooted in our autonomic nervous system. According to the work of Dr. Stephen Porges and his polyvagal theory, our bodies have a social engagement system.
This system is a network of cranial nerves that connects our heart, lungs, and brain to the muscles in our face and the tiny muscles in our middle ear that help us tune in to human speech. When we feel safe and relaxed, this system is online. Our voice has more melodic range, prosody. Our facial expressions are more open and engaging, and we can better hear the nuances in other people's voices. When we feel threatened or anxious, like Diego on his date, our body shifts into a fight or flight state. Our facial muscles tighten into a mask, our voice flattens, and our hearing becomes attuned to low-frequency background noises, the sound of a predator rather than human voices. How this creates dissonance? When you are internally stressed, your social engagement system goes offline. Your body is broadcasting danger signals. Your voice sounds monotone. Your smile doesn't reach your eyes. Your audience's nervous systems subconsciously pick up these cues and interpret them as a threat, or at best, as a sign that you are not trustworthy. How this creates resonance? When you are internally calm and grounded, your social engagement system is fully active. You are broadcasting safety signals. Your voice is rich and expressive. Your face is animated. People feel instinctively safe and comfortable in your presence. This is the biological signature of a person who has gravitas and presence. These three forces, cranial nerves, emotional contagion, and the social engagement system, are working every second of every interaction you have. You cannot turn them off. You cannot trick them with clever words. The only way to harness their power is to align your internal state with your external expression. The only way is to achieve resonance. The rest of this book is dedicated to showing you exactly how to do that. Chapter 1 Summary. Key takeaways. Personal dissonance is the internal conflict between what you think and feel and what you say and do. This conflict creates a confusing, untrustworthy signal that sabotages your communication. The resonance principle states that true influence comes from aligning your internal state, beliefs, emotions, with your external expression, words, voice, body.
This creates a clear, powerful, and magnetic signal. The old advice to fake it till you make it is flawed because it creates more dissonance. The goal is not to perform confidence, but to cultivate authentic confidence. Your brain is hardwired for resonance through 3 key mechanisms. Mirror neurons. Your brain simulates the emotions and actions of others, making them feel your internal state. Emotional contagion. Your emotions literally spread to the people around you. A resonant state creates positive contagion. Social engagement system. Your nervous system broadcasts signals of safety or danger through your voice and facial expressions, determining whether people feel comfortable and connected with you. Action step. The dissonance log. You cannot fix a problem you are not aware of. For the next 3 days, your only task is to become a curious observer of your own dissonance. You don't need to change anything yet. Just notice. Find a small notebook or open a new note on your phone. Title it The Dissonance Log. Throughout the day, pay attention to moments when you feel a gap between your inside and your outside. Notice the feeling. It might be a knot in your stomach when you have to speak up in a meeting. It might be the way you laugh a little too loudly at a joke you don't find funny. It might be the hesitation before you send an important email. Note the situation. In one sentence, describe what was happening. For example, felt nervous telling my boss I needed an extension, but I tried to sound casual and confident. Or, wanted to join a conversation at a party, but felt frozen and just stood there smiling. Don't judge. This is the most important rule. Do not criticize yourself. Simply observe the data with the curiosity of a scientist. Interesting. In that situation, my words and my feelings were not aligned. This simple act of observation is the first, most crucial step in closing the gap. It brings the unconscious patterns of dissonance into your conscious awareness. And what you are aware of, you can begin to change. Chapter 2. The Authenticity Audit. Discovering your core frequency. Brenda was a master of adaptation. Put her in a room with aggressive, fast-talking sales executives, and she became sharp, concise, and witty. Place her in a meeting with detail-oriented engineers, and she seamlessly shifted to being methodical, inquisitive, and precise. With her friends, she was the easygoing peacemaker. With her family, the responsible, organized one. She was a chameleon, and it had made her incredibly successful. It had also left her feeling completely hollow. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon.
She was in a high-level strategy meeting with her boss, a formidable man named Mr. Davies. He had just proposed a new marketing campaign that Brendan knew with every fiber of her being was a terrible idea. It was ethically questionable and, based on her data, destined to fail. She opened her mouth to object. The words were right there on her tongue. This is a mistake. This goes against everything we stand for. This will hurt our customers' trust. But then she saw the look on Mr. Davies' face, that unshakable steamroller certainty. She saw the other executives nodding in agreement, eager to please, and the chameleon instinct kicked in. The desire to be agreeable, to maintain harmony, to adapt was stronger than her conviction. "I think," she heard herself say, her voice sounding distant and foreign. "That's a bold and innovative direction. I can see the potential." The lie landed like a stone in her stomach. Mr. Davies beamed, and the meeting moved on. Brenda spent the rest of the day in a fog of self-loathing. She wasn't just in dissonance, she felt like she didn't have a self to be dissonant from. She had become so good at matching everyone else's frequency that she had completely forgotten her own. What is your core frequency?
If I asked you to stand up right now and describe in 30 seconds what you stand for, what you will not compromise on, and what makes you uniquely powerful, could you do it? If you hesitated, you're not alone. Most of us are like Brenda. We spend our lives reacting and adapting, so focused on navigating the external world that we lose touch with our own internal GPS. But you cannot achieve resonance if you don't know what you're supposed to be resonating with. Broadcasting a clear, powerful signal is impossible if you don't know which radio station you are. This chapter is about finding your station. It's about conducting a deep and honest authenticity audit to uncover your core frequency. This isn't a fluffy philosophical exercise. It is the single most important foundational step to building a magnetic personality. When you know with absolute certainty who you are and what you stand for, you develop an unshakable core that radiates outward. Your decisions become easier. Your boundaries become clearer. Your voice gains a weight and authority it never had before. The audit consists of 3 essential parts: identifying your core values, defining your guiding principles, and uncovering your signature strengths.
Let's begin. Part 1. Identifying your core values, your what. Your values are the answer to the question, what truly matters to me? They are your personal, non-negotiable priorities in life. They are not what you think should matter or what your parents or society told you should matter. They are the concepts that, when honored, make you feel fulfilled and authentic, and when violated, make you feel that sick, hollow feeling that Brenda experienced. A person who values creativity but is stuck in a rigid, process-driven job will be in a constant state of dissonance. A person who values community but spends all their time in solitary work will feel a persistent sense of unease. Knowing your top 5 core values is like having a compass in the wilderness. It ensures that no matter what situation you're in, you are always oriented toward your personal true north. Exercise. The value distillation. Brainstorm. Set a timer for 10 minutes. On a piece of paper, write down every word that comes to mind when you think of what's important to you. Don't filter or judge, just write. Your list might include words like honesty, adventure, security, family, growth, compassion, wealth, freedom, discipline, justice, loyalty, recognition, stability, impact, fun. Aim for at least 20 to 30 words. Group and theme. Look at your list. Do you see any patterns? Are there words that are similar? Group them. For example, adventure, fun, and novelty might fall under a single theme. Security, stability, and predictability could be another. The forced choice. Now, look at your themes or your top 10 individual words. Imagine you can only keep 5. Which ones would you choose? This part is designed to be difficult. If you had to sacrifice one to keep another, which one would it be? For example, would you sacrifice security for freedom or recognition for integrity? Circle your final 5. These 5 words represent the fundamental drivers of your personality. They are the bedrock of your core frequency. Part 2. Defining your guiding principles, your how. If values are what you stand for, principles are how you live those values. Principles are rules of conduct. They translate your abstract values into concrete, real-world behaviors. They are the boundaries you set and the promises you make to yourself about how you will operate. A value without a principle is just a nice-sounding word. Someone might say they value honesty, but their guiding principle might be, if a difficult truth needs to be spoken, I will speak it with compassion and respect. Someone might value growth, but their guiding principle is, when faced with a choice between what is comfortable And what will teach me something, I will choose the lesson. When Brenda sat in that meeting, her value of integrity was in direct conflict with her lack of a guiding principle for what to do in that situation. Had she defined one beforehand, such as, if I see a decision being made that violates my professional ethics, I will voice my concern clearly and calmly, regardless of the seniority of the person I'm addressing, she would have had a clear action plan. She would have had a script for her integrity. Exercise the if-then principles. Look at your 5 core values from the previous exercise. For each one, create 1 or 2 if-then statements that define how you will put that value into action. If or when situation, then I will action. For example, value, courage, principle. If I feel afraid to do something that I know is right, that I will take the first small step anyway. Value, connection, principle. When I am talking with someone, then I will put my phone away and give them my full attention. Value, discipline, principle. If I make a promise to myself, then I will treat it with the same respect as a promise I make to someone else. Write these down. These principles are not meant to be rigid dogma. They are your personal code of conduct, designed by you, for you. They are your operational manual for being your most authentic self. Part 3. Uncovering your signature strengths, your power source. Your strengths are the unique ways in which you are naturally effective. These aren't just skills you've learned, like coding or speaking Spanish. They are your innate talents and character traits. Positive psychology has shown that using your signature strengths is one of the most direct paths to fulfillment and engagement. When you operate from a place of strength, you are effortlessly resonant. Your actions feel natural, powerful, and authentic because they are. Trying to build a personality around your weaknesses is like trying to write with your non-dominant hand. You can do it, but it will always feel awkward and forced. Building it around your strengths is like finding your groove. It feels powerful and looks effortless.
Exercise, the Strength Finder. The best way to do this is to use a scientifically validated tool. The VIA Institute on Character offers a free 15-minute survey that is highly respected by psychologists. It will give you a ranked list of 24 character strengths, such as creativity, bravery, kindness, leadership, and humor. Take the assessment. Go to the VIA Institute's website and take the free survey. You can search for VIA Character Strength Survey. Identify your top 5. Pay close attention to your top 5 results. These are your signature strengths. Read their descriptions. Do they resonate with you? When in your life have you felt most alive and energized? Chances are you were using one of these strengths. Integrate them. Think about how you can consciously use one of your top strengths at least once every day. If curiosity is a top strength, make it a principle to ask one more question in every conversation. If appreciation of beauty and excellence is a strength, make a principle to take 2 minutes to savor something beautiful each day, a piece of music, a work of art, a well-crafted email. Crafting your personal charter. Now it's time to bring it all together. Your authenticity audit has given you the raw materials, your values, your principles, and your strengths. The final step is to combine them into a single, powerful document, your personal charter. This is a 1-page declaration of your core frequency. It's a document you can read in 60 seconds to remind yourself of who you are at your absolute best. It should be clear, concise, and written in your own voice. Your personal charter template. My core values. List your 5 core values. My guiding principles. Write down your 3 to 5 most important if-then principles. My signature strengths. List your top 5 strengths. My resonance state. Write one concluding sentence that describes you when you are living by this charter. For example, when I live by this charter, I am grounded, courageous, and a force for positive change. Imagine Brenda had her personal charter. Before walking into that meeting with Mr. Davies, she could have taken 30 seconds to review it.
She would have seen integrity and courage as core values. She would have read her principle, "If I see a decision being made that violates my ethics, I will voice my concern." She would have seen perspective as a signature strength, reminding her she was uniquely skilled at seeing the big picture. Armed with that clarity, she wouldn't have needed to be aggressive or rude. She could have calmly and confidently said, "Mr. Davies, I appreciate the bold thinking here. From my perspective, I have some concerns about customer trust that I think we should address before moving forward." That statement is resonant. It is aligned with her core. It is powerful. This is the foundation. You now have the blueprint for your most authentic, powerful self. In the next chapter, we will begin the work of rewiring your mind to believe it. Chapter 2, Summary, Key Takeaways. You cannot be resonant without first knowing your own core frequency. Trying to adapt to everyone else makes you a chameleon, leaving you feeling hollow and inauthentic. The Authenticity Audit is a 3-part process for discovering your core frequency. Core values, the answer to what truly matters to me. They are your internal compass. Guiding principles, the answer to how will I live my values. They are your if-then rules of conduct that turn values into action. Signature strengths, your innate talents and character traits. Operating from your strengths is the most natural way to be powerful and effective. Your personal charter is a 1-page document that combines your values, principles, and strengths. It is your ultimate reference guide for living in a state of resonance. Action step: draft your personal charter. Your mission for this chapter is to create the first draft of your personal charter. Don't worry about getting it perfect. It's a living document. Set aside 45 minutes of uninterrupted time. Complete the 3 exercises in this chapter: the value distillation, the if-then principles, and the strength finder. Using the template provided, assemble your findings onto a single page. Read it out loud to yourself. How does it feel? For the next week, read your personal charter once every morning. The goal is to internalize it until it becomes a part of you. Chapter 3, The Mindset Matrix, Rewiring Your Inner Narrative. Julian stood in the courthouse men's room, staring at his own reflection. He didn't see a capable 34-year-old attorney who had spent the last 400 hours preparing for this day. He saw a terrified imposter in a suit that suddenly felt 2 sizes too small. In 10 minutes, he was due in court to deliver the closing argument of the biggest case of his career. He had the facts on his side. He had the law.
He had a binder thick with evidence and a speech rehearsed to perfection. But the voice in his head was louder than any evidence. "You're going to blow this," it whispered. The voice was smooth, familiar, and utterly convincing. Ms. Albright on the other side, she's a killer. She's smarter than you. She's going to make you look like a fool. Everyone in that jury box can see you're just a kid playing dress-up. You don't belong here. A cold dread washed over him. His heart began to pound a frantic, uneven rhythm. His meticulously prepared arguments vanished from his mind, replaced by a single, paralyzing thought. "They're right. I am a fraud." This voice is the single greatest source of personal dissonance. It is the saboteur within, the ghost in your machine that creates a constant crackling static, disrupting the broadcast of your true self. You can have the most inspiring personal charter in the world, but if this inner narrative is running a counter-program of fear and self-doubt, your signal will never be clear. This inner critic feels like an undeniable truth, but it isn't. It's a story. It's a piece of faulty code running in the background of your consciousness, a narrative you learned long ago to keep you safe from failure and judgment by keeping you small. But you don't have to listen to it. You can learn to rewrite the code. Welcome to the Mindset Matrix. This is a simple, 4-step tool for dismantling any limiting belief or negative thought and replacing it with one that is resonant, empowering, and true. Think of it as a debugging program for your mind. It's how you go from being a prisoner of your inner narrative to being its architect. The 4 stages are: catch it, identify the negative thought, challenge it, interrogate the thought and expose its flaws, change it, reframe the thought into something more accurate and empowering, cement it, anchor the new thought with a concrete action. Let's break down the system. Step 1. Catch it, the trigger alert. You can't fight an enemy you can't see. The inner critic is slippery. Its attacks often feel less like thoughts and more like a general mood or a physical sensation. The first step is to develop an awareness of when the code is running. You need to install a trigger alert in your mind. Pay attention to your body's early warning signs. For Julian, it was the cold dread and the pounding heart. For you, it might be
A tightening in your chest or stomach.
a sudden feeling of heat in your face, an overwhelming urge to procrastinate or check your phone, a shift to shallow, rapid breathing. When you feel one of these signals, pause. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Put the vague, emotional feeling into a specific, declarative sentence. Julian's feeling of "I'm terrified" became the sentence, "I am going to fail this closing argument because I'm a fraud." Now you have something tangible. You've caught the thought. You've dragged the saboteur out of the shadows and into the light. Step 2. Challenge it. The cross-examination. Your inner critic is a terrible witness. It deals in absolutes, exaggerations, and feelings, not facts. Your job now is to become a calm, relentless defense attorney and cross-examine the thought. Don't just accept it as truth. Put it on the stand. Ask yourself these questions. Is this thought 100% true with no exceptions? Is it an objective fact that Julian is going to fail? No, it's a prediction, a fear. Has he ever succeeded at a difficult task before? Yes. The thought is not 100% true. What is the hard evidence against this thought? Julian could list the 400 hours of preparation, the positive feedback from mock juries, the strength of his evidence. He has a mountain of evidence contradicting the story of his fraudulency. What is the most generous, compassionate way to view this situation? Perhaps the nerves aren't a sign of fraudulence, but a sign that he cares deeply about his client and the case. The feeling isn't proof of his inadequacy, it's proof of his humanity. What would you say to a friend or colleague who came to you with this exact thought? Would you tell your best friend, "You're right, you are a fraud and you're going to fail"? Of course not. You'd say, "You're nervous because this is important. You are prepared. You have the skills. You can do this." Why would you speak to yourself with less kindness than you would a friend? By challenging the thought, you create distance from it. You begin to see it not as an undeniable truth, but as a biased, flawed perspective. You break its power. Step 3. Change it. The reframe. Now that you've poked holes in the original story, it's time to write a new one. This is not about lying to yourself with blind positivity. I am the greatest lawyer in the universe. That just creates a different kind of dissonance. A powerful reframe is balanced, believable, and aligns with your personal charter.
This is your resonant reframe. A good reframe often acknowledges the feeling but changes the meaning. It shifts you from a fixed mindset, "I'm a fraud," to a growth mindset, "I am a capable person facing a challenge." Let's look at Julian's options. Old thought, "I'm going to fail this closing argument because I'm a fraud." Toxic positivity reframe, I'm going to give the best speech in history and win easily. Unbelievable and adds pressure. Resonant reframe, I am feeling nervous because this case matters deeply to me. I have prepared meticulously. I know my case, and I am fully capable of delivering a clear and powerful argument on behalf of my client. This new thought is true. It's compassionate. It's empowering. It acknowledges the feeling of nervousness without making it a prophecy of doom. It aligns with values like discipline, I have prepared, and impact, this matters. It's a statement he can actually believe. Step 4. Cement it, the action anchor. A new thought is like wet cement. It's fragile. If you just leave it in your head, the old, well-worn neural pathways of the inner critic will quickly take over again. You must anchor your new thought with a physical action, no matter how small. Action is the ultimate proof to your brain that the new story is true. This action should be immediate and directly related to the new belief. If your old thought was, "No one will care about my idea in this meeting," your reframe might be, "My perspective is valuable and deserves to be heard." Your action anchor is to be the first person to speak. If your old thought was, "I'm too tired to work out," your reframe might be, "Moving my body will give me more energy." Your action anchor is to put on your running shoes. Just that one act. For Julian, standing in that bathroom, what could his action anchor be? It could be splashing cold water on his face. It could be pulling out his personal charter and reading it. Or it could be the simple, powerful act of standing up straight, pulling his shoulders back, taking one deep, resonant breath, and walking out of the bathroom toward the courtroom. That single step, taken with the intention of the new belief, begins to pour concrete over the new neural pathway. Every step he takes toward that courtroom is another piece of evidence that his resonant reframe is the new truth. This is how you begin to build the unshakable confidence we'll explore in the next chapter. The mindset matrix is a muscle.
The first few times you use it, it will feel clumsy and slow. But with practice, the process becomes second nature. The gap between catching the thought and cementing the new one will shrink from minutes to seconds. You will become the conscious, compassionate manager of your own mind, no longer a victim of its old faulty programming. This is how you silence the static and let your true, resonant self be heard. Chapter 3 Summary. Key takeaways. Your inner critic is the primary source of personal dissonance. It runs a background narrative of fear and self-doubt that sabotages your ability to project your true self. The mindset matrix is a 4-step tool to rewrite this narrative. Catch it. Become aware of the physical and emotional triggers of your inner critic and state the negative thought in a clear sentence. Challenge it. Cross-examine the thought like a lawyer. Question its validity, look for counter-evidence, and treat it with compassionate skepticism. Change it. Craft a resonant reframe, a new thought that is believable, empowering, and aligned with your personal charter. Shift from a fixed to a growth mindset. Cement it. Anchor your new belief with an immediate, small physical action. Action provides the proof your brain needs to make the new narrative stick. Action step, your first reframe. Choose one recurring, nagging negative thought that you've identified from your dissonance log in Chapter 1. It could be about your performance at work, your social interactions, or your abilities. For the next week, your only goal is to practice using the mindset matrix on this single thought every time it appears. Write down the thought at the top of a piece of paper or a note on your phone. Write down your go-to resonant reframe for it. Decide on a simple action anchor you can do immediately after thinking your reframe.
Each time you catch yourself thinking the old thought, run through the challenge, change, and cement steps. Don't expect perfection, just practice. The goal isn't to never have the negative thought again. The goal is to fundamentally change your relationship with it. You are learning to take the megaphone away from your critic and give it to your resonant self. Chapter 4, The Confidence Catalyst, Forging Self-Trust Through Action. The canvas was huge, 5 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and blindingly, terrifyingly white. Clara had been staring at it for 6 days.
It was the biggest commission of her career, a centerpiece for the lobby of a new downtown hotel, and the advance had already paid her rent for the next 6 months. This was it. This was the project that would elevate her from a struggling artist to a professional. And she was paralyzed. Every morning, she would walk into her studio, drink her coffee, and look at the canvas. She'd imagine the sweeping strokes of color, the bold composition she'd pitched so passionately. Then, the voice from the last chapter would arrive, a familiar, unwelcome guest. "You're not ready for this," it would hiss. "This is for real artists. Your idea is derivative. What if you mess it up? What if they hate it? You only have one shot." She knew, intellectually, that she should use the mindset matrix. She would catch the thought, challenge it, and reframe it. "I am a talented artist, and I am capable of creating a beautiful piece for this client." But the new thought felt flimsy, like a single layer of paint on a crumbling wall. It lacked the weight of belief. Clara was trapped in the classic confidence paradox. She felt she needed to feel confident before she could start painting, but the only way to build that confidence was to start painting. It's a vicious cycle that keeps millions of brilliant people stuck in a state of permanent inaction. We have been sold a lie about confidence. The lie is that confidence is a mood, a personality trait, or a magical feeling that descends upon us, enabling us to finally take action. This is completely backward. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action, it is the result of it. Confidence is not a feeling you conjure up. Confidence is evidence. It is the data your brain collects over time that proves you are a person who is capable and reliable. It is the quiet internal knowledge that when you decide to do something, it gets done. In other words, confidence is the evidence that you can trust yourself. So, how do you build this self-trust? You don't start with a giant, terrifying canvas. You start with something so small, it's almost laughable. You start by performing one small, simple act that builds a single grain of self-trust. You do 1 rep. Introducing integrity reps, the atomic unit of confidence. If the mindset matrix is your defense against negative thoughts, integrity reps are your offense. They are how you proactively build the muscle of self-trust from the ground up.
An integrity rep is a small, specific, non-negotiable promise you make and keep to yourself. That's it. It's that simple. Think of it exactly like building muscle in the gym. You don't walk in on your first day and try to bench press 300 pounds. You start with the empty bar. You perform a few reps with perfect form. It feels almost too easy. But you're not just lifting the bar. You're teaching your central nervous system how to fire correctly. You're building the foundational neural pathways for strength. Integrity reps work the same way for your character. Each time you tell yourself you will do something small and then you actually do it, you provide your brain with a tiny piece of evidence that you are reliable. You get a small hit of dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward and motivation. You are, quite literally, rewiring your brain to associate your own intentions with successful outcomes. 1 rep does very little, but hundreds of reps, compounded over weeks and months, create an identity.
You no longer have to try to feel confident because you have a deep, evidence-based belief in your own integrity. You are a person who does what they say they will do. This is the bedrock of resonance. It's the unshakable inner core that allows your external self to act with authentic power. The 3 rules of effective integrity reps. The beauty of this system is its simplicity, but that simplicity is deceptive. For integrity reps to work, they must follow 3 crucial rules. Rule 1, make it microscopic. The biggest mistake people make is setting the bar too high. Your first integrity rep should be so easy that it is virtually impossible not to do it. The goal is not to achieve a big outcome. The goal is to get a win and prove you can keep a promise. Bad rep. I will write my novel for an hour every day. Too big, easy to fail. Good rep. I will open the document and write 1 sentence. Microscopic. Almost impossible to fail. Bad rep. I will finally clean out the entire garage. Good rep. I will walk into the garage and throw away 1 piece of trash. For Clara, the paralyzed artist, her integrity rep isn't paint the background, it's squeeze 1 drop of blue paint onto the palette. That's it. That's the win. Can she do that? Of course she can. And that 1 small act of keeping her promise breaks the spell of inaction. Rule 2. Make it specific and verifiable. Vague promises are loopholes for your inner critic. I'll be more organized is a useless promise. How do you measure it? How do you know when you've done it? An integrity rep must be a clear, specific action. Vague, I'll try to network more. Specific, I will send 1 connection request on LinkedIn today. Vague, I'll be better with my emails. Specific, I will answer the oldest email in my inbox before I do anything else. Rule 3, make it binary. The promise must be a simple yes or no. Did you do it or did you not? There is no almost. This removes all ambiguity and prevents you from negotiating with yourself. Not binary, I'll spend less time on social media. Binary, my phone will be plugged in across the room by 10 p.m. Not binary, I'll have a better attitude in the morning meeting. Binary, I will say good morning to the first person I see. The binary nature is critical. At the end of the day, you get to look back and say, I told myself I would do X and I did X. Check. That check mark is a deposit in your self-trust account. From dissonance to resonance, closing the intention-action gap. How does this connect back to resonance? Personal dissonance at its core is the gap between who you want to be and what you actually do. It's the discomfort of knowing you're capable of more, but not living up to it. Every integrity rep you complete closes that gap. It's a micro moment of perfect resonance. Your internal intention, I will do this small thing, becomes perfectly aligned with your external action, I did the small thing. There is no static, there is no dissonance, there is only integrity. When you stack hundreds of these moments together, your entire state of being begins to shift. You start to walk, talk, and act like a person who trusts themselves. Why? Because you have overwhelming proof that you are trustworthy. This isn't fake confidence. It's earned. It's real. And when it's real on the inside, it broadcasts as authentic, effortless confidence on the outside. Clara starts with 1 drop of paint. The next day, maybe her rep is to mix that color. The day after, to paint a single 1-inch square. Within a week, she has an evidence log of 7 kept promises. She is no longer a paralyzed artist. She is an artist who shows up and keeps her promises to her craft. The canvas is no longer a terrifying void. It's just the next place to perform another rep. That is the quiet, unstoppable power of forging self-trust through action.
Chapter 4 Summary. Key takeaways.
Confidence is not a feeling, it's evidence. Stop waiting to feel confident. Confidence is the result of past actions, proving to yourself that you are reliable and capable. Self-trust is a muscle. You build it with small, consistent repetitions. The way to build this trust is through integrity reps. An integrity rep is a small, specific, non-negotiable promise you make and keep to yourself. It's the atomic unit of confidence. For integrity reps to be effective, they must follow 3 rules. Make it microscopic, so easy you cannot fail. The goal is the win, not the outcome. Make it specific. Vague goals are useless. Define the exact action. Make it binary. It's a simple yes-no. Did you do it or not? Integrity reps create resonance by closing the gap between your intentions and your actions, building an unshakable core of earned confidence. Action step. Choose your first integrity rep. Right now, before you close this book, you are going to choose your first integrity rep. This is not something to do later. The action starts now. Pick one area. Choose one small area of your life where you want to build momentum, your health, your work, your environment, etc. Define your rep, following the 3 rules: microscopic, specific, binary. Define your promise. Example: before I check my phone in the morning, I will drink 1 full glass of water. Example: when I finish work for the day, I will put my coffee cup directly into the dishwasher. Example: after any meeting, I will write down 1 action item before closing my notebook. Commit for 7 days. Write this promise on a sticky note and put it somewhere you will see it every day: your bathroom mirror, your computer monitor. Your only goal for the next 7 days is to get a check on this one promise. This is not about hydration or a clean kitchen. This is about proving to yourself that your word is law. This is your first rep in building an identity of unshakable self-trust. Chapter 5. The Art of Generous Listening, the Foundation of Connection. Kevin was bombing. He sat in a sterile, glass-walled conference room, a bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple. Across the table was Eleanor Chen, a senior executive with a reputation for being brilliant, demanding, and perpetually short on time. This was Kevin's 3rd and final meeting to pitch his company's new project management software. A yes from Miss Chen would make his entire year.
He'd done everything by the book. He had a slick PowerPoint deck. He had memorized every feature, every benefit, every pricing tier. He was a finely tuned machine of information delivery. And as you can see, Kevin said, clicking to the next slide, our proprietary algorithm streamlines workflow by up to 22%. It's a game changer for efficiency. It integrates seamlessly with your existing platforms, and the user interface is incredibly intuitive. Do you have any questions? Miss Chen leaned back, her expression unreadable. It's certainly a robust system, she said, her voice neutral. My main concern is the onboarding process. My teams are already stretched thin. A major software migration right now could be disruptive. This was it, a classic objection. Kevin had a pre-loaded answer for this. I understand completely, he said a little too quickly, but that's the beauty of our system. Our white glove onboarding team handles everything. We've managed to get teams of over 500 people up and running in a single week. The disruption is minimal, I promise. He smiled, pleased with his smooth rebuttal. He had answered her question. He had solved her problem. He had won. But when he looked at Miss Chen, he saw her eyes were now focused on the digital clock on the wall. A subtle shift, but a clear one. He had lost her. The connection was broken. The meeting ended 10 minutes later with a polite but firm, "We'll keep it in mind for the future." As Kevin packed up his laptop, a wave of familiar frustration washed over him. He had listened to her concern and provided the perfect solution. Why didn't it work? Because Kevin wasn't listening. He waited. So far, our work has been internal. We've audited your authenticity, rewired your inner narrative, and forged your self-trust. We've been tuning your instrument. Now we turn our attention outward. It's time to learn how to play that instrument in harmony with others. And the first, most fundamental rule of creating resonant connection is this: the most charismatic people in the room are almost always the best listeners. Kevin, like most of us, was practicing what I call ego listening. He wasn't listening to understand. He was listening to reply. His entire brain was focused on identifying a problem so he could jump in with his pre-packaged solution. He wasn't connecting with Miss Chen. He was trying to score points against her objection.
The entire interaction was a transaction, and his self-focused energy created immediate dissonance. People can feel it when you're treating them like a target to be persuaded rather than a person to be understood. The antidote is generous listening. Generous listening is the active, empathetic process of making another person feel completely seen, heard, and understood. It's a form of focused attention that is so rare and so powerful that it feels like a gift. When you offer it, you are communicating, non-verbally, for this moment, you are the most important person in the world to me. I am not thinking about what I'm going to say next. I am here with you. This isn't just a nice thing to do. It is a profoundly effective communication strategy rooted in the neuroscience we discussed in Chapter 1. When someone feels truly listened to, their brain's threat detection center, the amygdala, calms down. Their social engagement system comes online. They feel safe. And when people feel safe, they become open to connection, open to new ideas, open to you. Generous listening is the key that unlocks another person's mind and heart. Here is how you do it. Technique 1. Master the sacred pause. Our default mode in conversation is to talk as soon as the other person stops. We think the silence is awkward, a void that must be filled. We rush to prove we were paying attention by offering our own story, our advice, or our rebuttal. Resist this urge. The sacred pause is the simple act of waiting a full 2 to 3 seconds after someone has finished speaking before you respond. It's a moment of deliberate, respectful silence. This tiny gap in time has a supersized impact. It proves you're processing. It shows the other person that you are actually considering the weight of their words, not just waiting for your turn. It encourages them to continue. Often people finish a thought, but have more to say. Your silence creates a space for the real story to come out. It makes your eventual response more impactful. When you do speak, your words land with more gravity because they feel considered, not reactive. Imagine if Kevin, after Miss Chen expressed her concern, had simply paused. He would have held her gaze, nodded slowly, and let the silence hang for 3 beats. In that moment, he would have non-verbally communicated, "I hear you. That's a serious concern. I'm taking it in." This simple act alone would have changed the entire dynamic of the meeting.
Technique 2. The power duo. Echo and label. Once you've paused, your next step is not to offer a solution. It's to demonstrate that you understood. The most effective way to do this is with a 2-part technique: the echo and the label. The echo. This is a technique adapted from hostage negotiation. You simply repeat the last 1 to 3 key words the person said in a questioning tone. It's a verbal nudge that says, "Tell me more." The label is where you identify the underlying emotion or meaning behind their words. You start with phrases like, "It sounds like," or "It seems as though." Let's replay Kevin's meeting with these tools. Ms. Chen: "My main concern is the onboarding process. My teams are already stretched thin. A major software migration right now could be disruptive." Kevin: he takes a sacred pause, then uses the echo. "Disruptive?" This simple one-word question invites her to elaborate. She is no longer a business obstacle, she's a person with a specific problem. Ms. Chen: "Yes, we went through a platform change last year and it was a nightmare. We lost 2 weeks of productivity, my people were frustrated, morale dropped, and frankly, I spent all my time putting out fires." Now Kevin has the real story. Her concern isn't about software, it's about a past trauma. It's about lost productivity, frustrated employees, and her own stress. Now he can use the label. Kevin nods with empathy. "It sounds like you're worried about repeating a really painful experience that damaged team morale and put a huge strain on you personally." Can you feel the difference? He hasn't offered a single solution. He hasn't talked about his product at all. But for the first time in the meeting, he has forged a genuine human connection. He has proven that he understands her world. By labeling her emotion, he's diffused it. She feels seen. Now, and only now, is she ready to hear a solution. Technique 3, the calibrated question. Ego listeners ask trap questions designed to lead someone to a desired answer. Generous listeners ask calibrated questions designed to make the other person think. These are open-ended questions that start with what or how. They seed control and empower the other person, inviting them to become a collaborator in solving the problem. They turn a pitch into a workshop. After validating Ms. Chen's feelings with the echo and label, Kevin can now use a calibrated question. Bad question. Ego. "So, wouldn't our white glove service that solves all that be a perfect fit?" A yes-no trap question that feels like a sales tactic. Good question. Generous. What would an ideal, non-disruptive onboarding process look like for your team? This question is brilliant. It makes Ms. Chen the expert. It enlists her creativity. It moves the conversation from my solution to our solution. She might say, "Ideally, we'd only train one department at a time." Or, "The most important thing is having a dedicated support person on site." Whatever she says gives Kevin the exact blueprint for how to frame his solution in a way that will resonate perfectly with her specific needs and fears. He can now tailor his pitch not to the generic client, but to Eleanor Chen. Generous listening is not passive. It is a focused, strategic, and deeply respectful process. It lays a foundation of trust and safety that makes everything else you do, speaking, persuading, leading, infinitely more effective. Before you can dominate a room, you must first prove you can hear the people in it. Chapter 5 Summary. Key takeaways. Stop ego listening, listening to reply, and start generous listening, listening to understand. True connection and influence begin with making others feel seen and heard. Generous listening calms the other person's threat response and activates their social engagement system, making them feel safe and open to you. There are 3 core techniques for practicing generous listening. The sacred pause. Wait 2 to 3 seconds after someone finishes speaking before you respond. This demonstrates respect and consideration. The echo and label. Echo the last few key words to encourage elaboration. Then, label the underlying emotion. "It sounds like you felt," to show true empathy. The calibrated question. Ask open-ended what or how questions that invite collaboration and make the other person the expert.
Action step, the 5-minute generous listening challenge. Your goal this week is not to become a perfect listener overnight. It is simply to practice. Once a day, For the next 7 days, choose one 5-minute conversation where your only goal is to be a generous listener. This could be with a colleague, your partner, a barista, or a friend. During those 5 minutes, commit to doing only 3 things. Use the sacred pause after they speak. Use the echo and label at least once. Ask one calibrated question.
Your primary objective is to say as little about yourself as possible. Resist the urge to give advice, tell your own story, or solve their problem. Just listen. At the end of the 5 minutes, notice how you feel. Notice how the other person is responding to you. This is your first rep in building the most underrated and powerful communication skill on the planet. Chapter 6. The Vocal Blueprint. Unlocking the Power of Your Voice. Alicia was saying all the right things, but in all the wrong ways. She was presenting her quarterly findings to the marketing department. As the team's junior data analyst, she was also its sharpest mind. She had uncovered a subtle but critical trend in customer behavior that no one else had spotted. This insight, if acted upon, could save the company millions. The data was on slide 7. When she got there, she felt a surge of adrenaline. This was her moment. So, as you can see, there's a significant drop-off in engagement after the second point of contact, she began. But as her excitement and nervousness peaked, something happened to her voice. The pitch went up, the pace accelerated, and the volume became thin, almost breathy. And so I think what this means is that we really need to rethink our follow-up strategy, because if we don't, we're just going to keep losing people, and the data is super clear on this point. And she was a runaway train of brilliance. But the people in the room didn't hear the brilliance. They heard the frantic, high-pitched delivery. They heard a lack of authority. Her voice was in dissonance with the power of her ideas. Her manager, a well-meaning man named Robert, squinted at the slide. "Interesting, Alicia. Let's circle back to that later." They never circled back. Alicia's multi-million-dollar insight was lost, not because it was wrong, but because it was delivered on a carrier wave of anxiety. Your voice is the primary vehicle for your resonance. It is the bridge between your internal world and the outside world. All the authentic confidence and self-trust you have built in the previous chapters can be sabotaged in the last 3 feet of its journey, from your lungs, through your vocal cords, and out into the room. When your internal state is calm and confident, but your voice comes out tight, rushed, or weak, you create a confusing signal. The audience will always believe the voice over the words. A resonant personality requires a resonant voice.
This does not mean you need to sound like a movie trailer narrator or a polished news anchor. The goal is not to have a perfect voice. It's to have an authentic one. It's about unlocking the voice that is a true, clear, and powerful reflection of the confident and centered person you are on the inside. This is your vocal blueprint. It's a simple framework for tuning the 4 key elements of your voice: pitch, pace, volume, and pause, so that they are in harmony with your resonant core. 1. Pitch, the foundation of authority. When you get nervous or stressed, your muscles tense up, including the tiny, delicate muscles around your larynx, your voice box. This constriction squeezes your vocal cords, shortening them and causing your pitch to rise. It's the reason Alicia's voice went up an octave during her big moment. A high, tight pitch is a subconscious signal of anxiety and a lack of control. Conversely, a voice that sits in its natural, relaxed lower range signals confidence and calm. The goal is to find your optimal pitch, the vocal range where your voice is most relaxed, efficient, and resonant. The fix, the resonant hum. This is the single best exercise for finding your optimal pitch. Sit or stand with a straight but relaxed spine. Close your lips gently and make a soft sound, as if you're agreeing with someone. Pay attention to the vibration. You should feel a slight buzz around your lips, nose, and maybe even your upper chest. This buzzing is physical resonance. Gently glide the sound
up and down in pitch. Find the spot in your range where the vibration is strongest and requires the least amount of effort. That sweet spot, that is your optimal pitch. It's home base for your voice. Practice starting sentences from that hum. 1, 2, 3. This is my natural voice. The more you do this, the more you will train your voice to return to this grounded, resonant pitch, especially under pressure. 2. Pace, the rhythm of confidence. When we're nervous, we talk fast. We subconsciously believe that if we just get all the words out as quickly as possible, the scary situation will be over sooner. This, of course, signals panic to your listeners. It communicates, I don't believe my ideas are worth your time, so I'm going to rush through them. A confident speaker isn't afraid of time. They own it. They use purposeful pacing, varying their speed to create emphasis and hold attention.
They slow down for important points and speed up slightly for background information. This variation is what makes someone engaging to listen to. The fix, the conductor's hand. To break the habit of rushing, you need to introduce a physical regulator. Take any piece of text, a book, an article, an email, read it out loud. As you speak, use your hand like a conductor's baton. Move it away from your body slowly as you speak a phrase and bring it back to your chest when you reach a natural pause or a comma. Deliberately slow the movement of your hand. Your voice will naturally follow, stretching out the words to match the gesture. When you get to a key point, slow your hand down even more, almost to a stop. This will force you to speak the most important words with weight and deliberation. This physical practice trains you to feel the rhythm of confident speech in your body. 3. Volume, the dial of impact. Many people mistake volume for shouting. When they need to be heard, they strain from their throat, producing a sound that is loud but also harsh and grating. Resonant volume isn't about effort, it's about support. It comes from your diaphragm, the large muscle at the base of your lungs that powers your breath. A voice supported by deep, diaphragmatic breathing is rich, full, and carries to the back of the room without any strain. It communicates strength and vitality. The fix, the breath of a lion. This exercise teaches you to speak from your core, not your throat. Stand up straight and place a hand on your belly right above your navel. Take a deep breath in, focusing on expanding your belly outward into your hand. Your chest and shoulders should remain relatively still. This is a diaphragmatic breath. Now exhale with a loud, sustained ha sound, like a lion's roar or someone fogging up a mirror. As you do, feel your stomach muscles contract, pushing the air out. Your hand should move inward. Do this 3 times. You are feeling the engine of your voice. Now take that same deep belly breath, but on the exhale, say, "This is a strong, supported sound." Project it across the room. Notice how the power comes from your core, while your throat remains relaxed and open. This is the source of true vocal power. 4. Pause, the sound of power. This is the most advanced and impactful tool in your vocal blueprint. Most people fear silence. They fill every available space with filler words, like, because the silence feels awkward. These fillers are the sound of your brain buffering. They scream uncertainty. A resonant speaker wields the pause as a weapon. The power pause communicates ultimate confidence. It says, I am so comfortable here, so in command of my material, that I can stop talking and know that I will still have your full attention. A pause before a key statement builds suspense. A pause after a key statement gives your audience time to absorb its importance. It's the verbal equivalent of putting a sentence in bold. The fix? The full stop practice.
This drill retrains your brain to replace filler words with powerful silence. Take a paragraph of text, read it aloud, but with one new rule. Every time you see a period, you must stop, close your mouth, and take one full, silent, diaphragmatic breath before starting the next sentence. This will feel unnaturally long at first. That's the point. You are getting comfortable with the silence. You are teaching your nervous system that a pause is not a failure. It is a tool of control and emphasis. By mastering these 4 elements, finding your optimal pitch, varying your pace, supporting your volume, and using the pause, you are not creating a new voice. You are liberating the powerful, authentic voice you already have. You are ensuring that the sound that comes out of your mouth is a perfect match for the resonant confidence you have built within. Chapter 6. Summary. Key takeaways. Your voice is the carrier wave for your internal resonance. A mismatch between your confident inner state and an anxious-sounding voice creates dissonance. The vocal blueprint is about aligning the 4 key elements of your voice with your resonant core. Pitch. Find your relaxed, optimal pitch to project calm and authority. Use the resonant hum exercise. Pace. Use purposeful pacing to control the rhythm of the conversation and convey confidence. Practice with the conductor's hand. Volume. Project from your diaphragm, not your throat, for a voice that is strong and supported, not strained. Master this with the breath of a lion. Pause. Replace filler words with the power pause to command attention and give your words weight. Train this skill with the full stop practice. Action step, the 5-minute vocal warm-up. Your voice is an instrument. You wouldn't expect a guitarist to play a concert without tuning up first. For the next week, before an important meeting, a phone call, or just before you start your workday, perform this 5-minute warm-up. Minute 1, the resonant hum. Gently hum up and down to find your optimal pitch and warm up your vocal cords. Minute 2, the breath of a lion. Do 5 deep diaphragmatic breaths, exhaling with a ha sound to engage your core support. Minute 3 to 4, the conductor's hand. Grab any piece of text and read 2 paragraphs aloud, practicing a slow, deliberate pace. Minute 5, the full stop. Read 1 more paragraph aloud, taking a full silent breath at every period. This simple routine, done consistently, will transform your voice from a source of dissonance into your most powerful tool of resonant expression. Chapter 7. The Body Language of Belief, Broadcasting Confidence Non-Verbally. The interview was going perfectly. On paper, Daniel was nailing every question. He had a compelling story for "Tell me about yourself." He had a data-backed example for "Describe a time you showed initiative." He had a thoughtful question for "Is there anything you'd like to ask us?" His words were a masterclass in interview preparation, but his body was telling a completely different story. As he spoke, he was unconsciously engaged in a symphony of dissonant signals. He was slumped ever so slightly in his chair, a posture that subtly compressed his chest and made his resonant voice harder to access. His hands, when not fidgeting with his pen, were clasped tightly in his lap, a self-protective gesture. His gaze, while friendly, would often dart away from the interviewer's eyes at the end of a key sentence, as if to check if his answer had landed safely. The interviewer, a seasoned manager named Olivia, listened to Daniel's flawless answers, but what she felt was a vague sense of unease. His words projected competence, but his body broadcasted doubt. It was a classic case of personal dissonance. Without even realizing why, she found herself mentally moving his resume from the definitely pile to the maybe pile. She wasn't judging his posture, she was subconsciously responding to the lack of conviction it signaled. Psychologist Albert Mehrabian's famous and often misquoted research found that in certain emotional contexts, only 7% of a message's impact comes from the words, while 38% comes from the tone of voice, and a staggering 55% comes from body language.
While the exact numbers can be debated, the core principle is undeniable. When your words and your nonverbal signals are in conflict, people will always believe your body. You have now learned to align your inner world and tune your voice. The final step in broadcasting a perfectly coherent resonant signal is to master your physical presence. This isn't about memorizing a list of power poses or faking a dominant posture. That's just another form of dissonance. This is about inhabiting a body language of belief. It's about learning to hold and move your body in a way that is a natural, authentic extension of the resonant core you have built. It's about ensuring your physical self is broadcasting the same message of quiet confidence as your voice and your mind. There are 3 domains of nonverbal communication you must align: your space, your stance, and your signals. 1. Your space, claiming your territory. Confidence is, in many ways, a function of how comfortable you are taking up space. When we feel anxious, insecure, or threatened, our primal instincts kick in. We make ourselves smaller to appear less of a target. We cross our arms and legs, pull our shoulders in, and tuck our belongings close to us. These are all subconscious attempts to shrink our physical footprint. A resonant individual, grounded in self-trust, is not afraid to calmly and respectfully take up the space allotted to them. They don't do it aggressively, they do it with a sense of ease and belonging. The fix? The principle of expansion. Before your next meeting, presentation, or even just a conversation, practice the principle of expansion. At a table, don't be afraid to place your notebook, your pen, and your glass of water on the table in front of you. Rest your arms comfortably on the armrests of your chair or gently on the table. This is called claiming your territory, and it sends a signal, both to others and to yourself, that you belong there. When standing, stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. This creates a stable, grounded base. Avoid the tendency to cross your ankles or keep your feet pressed tightly together. The unfurling. The next time you sit down, do it with intention. Instead of collapsing into the chair, sit down and then perform a subtle unfurling. Let your shoulders relax downward and back. Allow your arms to rest where they fall naturally, and feel your physical presence expand to fill the chair. This small ritual reverses the instinct to shrink. This isn't about manspreading or being obnoxious. It's about overcoming the self-sabotaging instinct to physically diminish yourself. 2. Your stance, the posture of presence. Your posture isn't just about how you look, it's about how you feel. The field of embodied cognition studies how our body's physical state can influence our mental and emotional state. Standing tall doesn't just make you look more confident. Research suggests it can actually make you feel more confident by creating a feedback loop to your brain. A slumped posture with rounded shoulders and a caved-in chest is the physical manifestation of defeat or defense. It restricts your breathing, which in turn keeps your nervous system in a state of low-grade anxiety and makes it impossible to access the full power of your voice. A resonant stance, by contrast, is open, aligned, and grounded. The fix, the string, and the anchor. This is a simple visualization to correct your posture instantly. The string. Imagine there is a string attached to the very top of your head, gently pulling you upward toward the ceiling. Feel your spine decompress and lengthen. Your chin should tuck in slightly, not jut out. The anchor. Now imagine your feet are growing roots, anchoring you firmly to the ground beneath you.
Feel the stability and solidity of your connection to the floor. This visualization does two things simultaneously. It creates length and openness in your torso, the string, while creating a sense of stability and calm in your lower body, the anchor. It is the physical embodiment of being both relaxed and alert. Practice it while waiting in line, sitting at your desk, or walking down the hall. Over time, this aligned, resonant posture will become your default. 3. Your signals, the gestures of conviction. Your hands and your eyes are the most expressive parts of your body. They are the fine-tuning instruments of your nonverbal broadcast. When mismanaged, they signal anxiety. When used with intention, they signal conviction. Hands, the dissonance of fidgeting. Fidgeting, clicking a pen, tapping your fingers, adjusting your tie, is nervous energy leaving the body. It's a dead giveaway that your internal state is not as calm as your words might suggest. Your audience's attention is unconsciously drawn to the frantic, repetitive motion, distracting them from your message. The fix? The home base gesture.
Your hands need a calm, neutral place to return to. This is their home base. When standing, your home base can be with your arms hanging relaxed at your sides. Another powerful option is steepling, bringing your fingertips together or gently resting one hand over the other in front of your body. When seated, home base can be resting your hands on the table or calmly in your lap. From this home base, you can then use purposeful gestures. Instead of fidgeting, use your hands to emphasize a point, to number a list, or to describe a shape. A gesture that is aligned with your words adds power and clarity. A gesture that is just nervous energy subtracts from it. Eyes, the gaze of connection. Poor eye contact is one of the most destructive nonverbal habits. Darting your eyes away suggests shiftiness or a lack of confidence in what you're saying. Staring too intensely can feel aggressive. The fix, the triangle gaze. Effective and resonant eye contact is about creating a connection, not winning a staring contest. In one-on-one conversations, imagine a small inverted triangle on the other person's face, with the base across their eyebrows and the point at their mouth. Let your gaze drift gently around this triangle, pausing on one eye, then the other, then the mouth. This keeps your gaze engaged and focused without feeling like an intimidating stare. When addressing a group, don't sweep your gaze across the room like a security camera. Instead, land on one person and deliver a full thought or sentence to them. Then move to another person in a different part of the room and do the same. This makes each person feel like you are speaking directly to them, creating a series of intimate one-on-one connections. Your body language is broadcasting a story every second. By aligning your space, your stance, and your signals with your resonant core, you ensure that story is one of unwavering, authentic belief in yourself and your message. Chapter 7 Summary. Key Takeaways. Your body language is the most impactful element of your communication, broadcasting your internal state of belief or doubt. Dissonance between your words and your body will undermine your message. The goal is to cultivate a body language of belief, an authentic physical expression of your resonant core. There are 3 domains to master. Your space. Confidently and calmly take up the space you are given. Practice the principle of expansion to counteract the instinct to shrink.
Your stance. An aligned posture signals and creates presence. Use the string and the anchor visualization to achieve a posture that is both open and grounded. Your signals. Use your hands and eyes with intention. Manage nervous energy by giving your hands a home base and use the triangle gaze to create comfortable, confident eye contact. Action step. The 30-second presence reset. This is a simple routine you can do anywhere,
any time to instantly shift your body into a state of resonance. Do it before you walk into a meeting, before you make a phone call, or whenever you feel your confidence start to waver. 10 seconds. Find your stance. Stand or sit up straight. Imagine the string pulling you up and the anchor rooting you down. 10 seconds. Find your breath. Place a hand on your belly. Take one slow, deep diaphragmatic breath, feeling your belly expand. Exhale completely. 10 seconds. Find your space. Perform a subtle unfurling. Let your shoulders drop. Rest your hands at their home base and feel your presence expand calmly into the space around you. This 30-second ritual realigns your body, grounds your nervous system, and primes you to enter any situation not with a performance of confidence, but with the quiet, powerful presence of your true, resonant self. Chapter 8. The Storyteller's Secret: Structuring Your Ideas to Move People. The data was undeniable. Dr. Evelyn Reed, a brilliant climatologist, stood at the podium in a vast, dimly lit auditorium. On the screen behind her was a graph showing a terrifying, hockey stick-shaped curve of rising global temperatures. Her audience was a room full of influential policymakers and corporate CEOs, the very people who could enact meaningful change. She had the facts. She had the charts. She had the bullet points. As the regression analysis indicates, her voice clear and precise, the correlation between anthropogenic CO2 emissions and the mean temperature anomaly is statistically significant, with a p-value of less than 0.01. We project a 3.2 degrees Celsius increase by 2050 if current trends continue unabated. She presented slide after slide of impeccable, unassailable data. The logic was flawless, the case was closed, and yet when she finished, the room was silent. People checked their watches. A few coughed politely. The Q&A session was sparse and academic. Her message, for all its factual power, had landed with the emotional impact of a phone book.
Later that evening, the keynote speaker was a man named George Allen, a retired naval officer who now ran a nonprofit building seawalls in coastal communities. He had no charts. He had no p-values. He had one story. He spoke about a single fishing village in Bangladesh. He described the smell of the salt and the mud, the sound of the children's laughter. He introduced them to a fisherman named Rashid, a man with calloused hands and a face lined by the sun and the sea. He told them how Rashid's family had lived on that same plot of land for 200 years. And then he described the day that the ghost tide came, a king tide, amplified by rising sea levels that didn't recede. It swallowed Rashid's home, his boat, and his ancestral land, leaving him with nothing. The data can tell you what is happening, George concluded, his voice thick with emotion. The room was electrified. In 10 minutes, George Allen had achieved what Dr. Reed's hour of data could not. He had made them feel something. The next day, his small nonprofit received a flood of donations and pledges from the CEOs in that room, dwarfing the funding for Dr. Reed's Research Institute. You have now built a resonant core. You have tuned your voice and aligned your body. You are a perfectly calibrated instrument ready to broadcast a powerful, authentic signal. But what is the music you are going to play? Facts inform. Logic convinces. But stories connect. Stories are the operating system of the human brain. For millennia, before spreadsheets and bullet points, we used narrative to make sense of the world, to pass on wisdom, and to persuade others to act. A story bypasses the skeptical, analytical part of the brain and speaks directly to the emotional, decision-making center. When you wrap your idea in a story, you are not dumbing it down. You are upgrading it. You are giving it a delivery system that is engineered to be remembered, to be felt, and to be shared. Dr. Reed was in dissonance. Her internal passion and urgency were completely mismatched with her dry clinical delivery. She presented the what, but failed to provide the so what. George Allen was in perfect resonance. His simple, heartfelt story was a congruent expression of his core mission, delivered with authentic emotion. You don't need to be a novelist to harness this power.
You just need a simple, reliable structure that can turn any idea, from a project proposal to a personal vision, into a compelling narrative. This is the bridge narrative. The bridge narrative is a 3-act structure that is simple, flexible, and psychologically powerful. It works because it mirrors the fundamental way we process change and make decisions. The 3 parts are the problem, the broken world. Start where the audience is, with a pain point they recognize. The vision, the promised land. Paint a vivid picture of what the world could look like if that problem was solved. The bridge, your idea, product, or plan. Introduce your idea, product, or plan as the concrete, practical bridge that connects the broken world to the promised land. Let's break down how this powerful framework works. Act 1. The problem, the broken world. Every great story begins with a world that is out of balance. Don't start your presentation with your solution. That's like starting a movie with the final scene. Your audience doesn't care about your solution yet because they aren't convinced they have a problem worth solving. Your first job is to connect with their current reality. Start with a relatable pain point, a shared frustration, or a clear and present danger. Dr. Reed's mistake, she started with the data. Here are the CO2 levels. A better start, the problem. We all want a predictable world. A world where farmers can rely on the seasons, where coastal cities feel secure, and where our children can inherit a planet as stable and beautiful as the one we did. But a creeping instability is changing that world. This approach doesn't present a statistic. It presents a threat to a shared value, stability. It gets the audience nodding in agreement. It makes the problem personal. When you articulate someone's problem better than they can, they will instinctively grant you the authority to solve it. Act 2. The vision, the promised land. Once you have established the pain of the present, you must give them the pleasure of the future. Before you explain how you will solve the problem, you must paint a vivid, compelling picture of what it will look like when it is solved. This is the vision, the dream, the promised land. This step is critical because it creates a powerful tension in the listener's mind. The gap between where we are and where we could be creates a desire for change.
Dr. Reed's mistake. She jumped straight from the problem, rising temperatures, to the complex mechanics of her research. A better approach, the vision. But imagine a different future. Imagine a world powered by clean, abundant energy. Imagine our coastal cities, not threatened by the sea, but thriving in harmony with it. Picture a global economy where innovation and sustainability go hand in hand, creating new jobs and a healthier planet for everyone. This future is not a fantasy. It is within our reach. This vision gives the audience something to move toward, not just something to run away from. It inspires hope and creates emotional buy-in before you've even mentioned your specific idea. Act 3, the bridge, your idea. Now, and only now, that you have established the problem and the vision, do you introduce your solution. Your idea, your product, your plan. It is no longer just a thing. It is the bridge. It is the practical, tangible pathway from the broken world they are in to the promised land they now desire. Your idea becomes the hero of the story. Dr. Reed's mistake? Her research was just a collection of facts. A better approach, the bridge. This future is within our reach. And the first step on that journey, the first plank in that bridge, is understanding exactly where our climate system is headed. That is why my team has developed a new predictive model. This model is our map. It will allow us to pinpoint the greatest risks and deploy our resources to protect our communities with an accuracy we've never had before. See the difference? The research is no longer an abstract academic exercise. It's a map. It's a tool. It's the essential bridge to the inspiring vision she has just painted. This structure works for anything. Selling software? The problem is wasted time and frustrating workflows. The vision is a seamless, productive day where technology just works. The bridge is your software. Proposing a new company policy. The problem is low morale and employee burnout. The vision is a workplace where people feel valued, energized, and engaged. The bridge is your new wellness initiative. Sharing your personal career goals. The problem is a gap in the team's current capabilities. The vision is a team that can meet any challenge. The bridge is you, stepping into a new leadership role. The storyteller's secret is that structure is liberating. By using the bridge narrative, you don't have to wonder where to start or what to say next.
You have a reliable roadmap that turns dry information into a resonant message that moves people to feel, to believe, and ultimately to act. Chapter 8, Summary, Key Takeaways. Facts inform, but stories connect and persuade. To make your ideas stick, you must wrap them in a narrative structure. The bridge narrative is a simple, powerful 3-act framework for structuring any message to maximize its emotional impact. Act 1, the problem. Start with a pain point, frustration, or danger that your audience already recognizes. Establish the broken world. Act 2, the vision. Paint a vivid, compelling picture of the promised land, what the world will look like when the problem is solved. Create a desire for change. Act 3, the bridge. Introduce your idea, product, or plan as the tangible, practical bridge that connects the problem to the vision. This structure transforms your idea from a mere piece of information into the hero of the story, making it more memorable, meaningful, and motivating. Action step. Build your first bridge. Pick one idea you need to communicate in the near future. It could be a proposal at work, a point you want to make in a meeting, or even an idea you want to sell to your family or friends. Your task is to structure it using the bridge narrative. Take a piece of paper and divide it into 3 sections. The problem. Write down 2 to 3 sentences that describe the pain point. How does it feel to be in this broken world? Use emotional, relatable language. The vision. Write 2 to 3 sentences that paint the picture of the promised land. What does the ideal future look like? What are the benefits? The bridge. Write 2 to 3 sentences that introduce your idea as the clear, simple path from the problem to the vision. Read it aloud. Notice how this structure gives your idea a sense of momentum and purpose. This is your first step in moving from being just an expert to being a truly resonant communicator.
Chapter 9, The Gravity of Gravitas, Commanding Respect Under Pressure. The air in the boardroom was thick with tension. Project Titan, the company's flagship initiative for the year, was 6 weeks behind schedule and bleeding money. William, the project lead, had just spent 20 minutes walking the executive committee through a series of updated charts, his voice getting progressively tighter with each slide. Then came the question he was dreading. It came from Miss Chen, the same sharp executive we met in Chapter 5. She wasn't aggressive, but her words were like precision-guided missiles. "William," she said, her voice calm and even, "the revised timeline you're presenting still seems optimistic. It appears to be based on a best-case scenario for all 3 remaining development phases. What is your contingency plan for when, not if, one of those phases hits a delay?" It was a fair question. It was a kill shot. William's body betrayed him before he could even speak. He felt a hot flush creep up his neck. He broke eye contact, looking down at his notes as if the answer might magically appear there. His social engagement system went offline, replaced by a primal fight-or-flight response. He felt defensive, attacked. "Well," he began, his voice a half octave too high, We've factored in some buffer, and we're confident that the team can hit these new deadlines if we all lean in, and we've already stress-tested the model. He was rambling. He was deflecting. He was projecting weakness. He had lost the room. In that moment, he wasn't a leader. He was a defendant on trial. His dissonance was so profound that it didn't matter what he said. The executives weren't listening to his plan anymore. They were watching his panic. This is the ultimate test of resonance. It's easy to be calm, confident, and authentic when things are going well. But what happens when you're under pressure? When you're challenged, questioned, or outright attacked? The ability to maintain your resonant core in the face of this fire is gravitas. Gravitas is not about being stern, loud, or aggressive. Gravitas is resonance under pressure. It's the unshakable, grounded presence that allows you to command respect without demanding it. It's the calm at the center of the storm. A person with gravitas can absorb immense pressure without becoming reactive, defensive, or flustered. They don't just handle the heat, they lower the temperature of the entire room. This is not a mystical quality you were born with. It is a skill set. It is the synthesis of everything you have learned so far, deployed in the moments that matter most. The science of grace under pressure. When Miss Chen challenged William, his amygdala, the brain's threat detector, hijacked his rational mind. It flooded his system with cortisol and adrenaline, the hormones of stress. This amygdala hijack shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex thought, emotional regulation, and articulate speech.
This is why William started rambling. His higher-level brain functions had literally gone offline. The key to gravitas is learning to manage that initial hijack. It's about creating a crucial gap between the trigger, the tough question, and your response. In that gap, you can consciously choose a resonant reaction instead of a primal one. Here are the two essential techniques for creating that gap and responding with gravitas. Technique 1. The anchor breath. Regulate your body first. You cannot think your way out of a panic attack. When your body is in fight or flight mode, your mind is its hostage. You must first regulate your physiology. You need to send a signal of safety from your body back to your brain. The fastest and most effective way to do this is with the anchor breath. It's a simple, discreet 2-second technique. Breathe in. Take a silent, deep breath into your belly, a diaphragmatic breath as practiced in Chapter 6. Exhale long. Exhale slowly and completely, making the exhale slightly longer than the inhale. This specific breathing pattern activates the vagus nerve, the primary component of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's brake. It's a physiological off switch for the fight or flight response. It tells your brain, the threat has passed. You are safe. Bring the prefrontal cortex back online. Now, let's replay the scene. Ms. Chen asks her question. William feels the hot flush of panic, but this time he has a plan. Before he says a word, he does 3 things. He maintains soft eye contact with her. He gives a slight, slow nod, as if to say, "That's a good question." As he nods, he takes a single, unnoticeable anchor breath. This entire sequence takes about 3 seconds. To the room, it looks like he is calm, thoughtful, and considering the question. But what he is actually doing is performing a critical neurological intervention. He is short-circuiting the amygdala hijack. That 3-second pause is his gap. He is now ready to respond not from his panicked lizard brain, but from his rational, resonant mind. Technique 2. The Socratic reframe. Answer the real question. When you're attacked, the instinct is to defend your position. William's instinct was to defend his timeline. This is a losing battle. It puts you in a subordinate position, reacting to the other person's frame. A person with gravitas doesn't defend the premise of the attack. They elevate the conversation.
They use the Socratic reframe to address the deeper concern behind the question, demonstrating leadership and strategic thinking. Instead of answering, "How will you defend this timeline?" they answer, "What is the principle we should be focused on right now?" After taking his anchor breath, the new resonant William responds. He doesn't make excuses, he validates the concern, and then reframes the issue. "That's the right question to be asking, Eleanor," he begins, using her first name to create a sense of peer-to-peer collaboration, not subordinate to boss defensiveness. His voice is calm, his pace is deliberate, he is in his vocal blueprint. "You're right," he continues. "A best-case scenario timeline is not a real plan. The real issue here isn't just about the schedule, it's about managing risk and rebuilding confidence that this project will deliver its intended value." Look at what he did. He completely sidestepped the trap of defending his chart. He agreed with her, "You're right," which immediately disarms the confrontation. Then he reframed the conversation from the tactical, the schedule, to the strategic, managing risk and delivering value. He is no longer on the defense, he is leading. Now he can offer his solution from this position of strength. To that end, he says, "I propose 2 immediate actions. First, by tomorrow morning, I will have a revised projection that shows a worst-case scenario, so we have a clear-eyed view of our maximum exposure. Second, I want to revalidate the project's core deliverables with this team. Let's confirm what the must-haves are, so if we do need to make trade-offs, we are sacrificing the right things. Our primary goal is to deliver value, not just to hit a date." This is gravitas. He absorbed the pressure, regulated his internal state, validated the challenger, reframed the problem, and proposed a concrete leader-like path forward. He didn't just answer the question, he took command of the situation. He demonstrated that he was more concerned with solving the real problem than with being right. That is the essence of commanding respect under pressure. Chapter 9 Summary. Key takeaways. Gravitas is resonance under pressure. It's the ability to maintain your calm, confident, and authentic self when you are challenged or attacked. Pressure triggers an amygdala hijack, a physiological stress response that shuts down the rational part of your brain. Gravitas is the skill of managing this hijack. Use a 2-step process to respond to pressure with gravitas. The anchor breath. First, regulate your body. A slow, deep, diaphragmatic breath with a long exhale calms your nervous system and brings your rational mind back online. This creates a critical gap between trigger and response. The Socratic reframe. Don't defend the premise of the attack. Validate the person's concern. That's the right question. And then reframe the conversation to a higher, more strategic level. Address the real issue behind the question. This approach shifts you from a defensive, reactive posture to a proactive, leadership-oriented one. You don't just win the argument, you command respect. Action step. The pressure drill. You cannot learn to handle pressure in a high-stakes moment. You must practice it in a low-stakes environment. Recruit a partner. Ask a trusted friend, partner, or colleague to help you with a 10-minute drill. Pick a topic. Choose a topic you know well and feel passionately about. Your job, a hobby, a favorite book. The drill. Your job is to speak about that topic for 3 minutes. Your partner's job is to interrupt you at least 2 times with challenging, skeptical questions. They can question your facts, your assumptions, or your opinion. Why do you believe that's true? That sounds unrealistic. What are you not considering? I've heard the exact opposite. Convince me. Your only goal, when your partner challenges you, your only goal is to practice the 2 techniques. Don't worry about winning the argument. Just maintain eye contact, take your anchor breath, start your response with a validating phrase like, "That's a fair point," or "I can see why you'd think that," and then try to reframe the conversation. Do this drill once a week. It's a sparring session for your composure. It builds the muscle memory for Gravitas. So when you face real pressure, your resonant response is a well-trained reflex, not a desperate hope. Chapter 10. Navigating Friction. Resonance in Conflict and Negotiation. The email landed in Maria's inbox like a grenade. It was from Tom, a senior developer on another team, and it was dripping with passive-aggressive accusation. Just flagging that my team's launch is now blocked because we're still waiting on the API access your team was supposed to provide last week. We're dead in the water until this is resolved. He had copied her boss and his boss. Maria's immediate reaction was a surge of defensive anger.
Her fingers flew to the keyboard, ready to fire back. "We're not the bottleneck," she wanted to type. "Your team submitted the wrong request form, and we sent it back for corrections 3 days ago. If you had read your emails, you'd know that." She had the facts on her side. She was right. Firing off that email would feel satisfying, righteous even, for about 5 minutes. But she instinctively knew it would solve nothing. It would escalate the conflict, turn Tom into a permanent adversary, and make her look petty and reactive to the bosses he had copied. Winning the battle would mean losing the war. This is the moment of friction. It happens in performance reviews, in budget negotiations, in disagreements with a partner, and in passive-aggressive emails. In these moments, our carefully constructed resonance can shatter. Our self-trust curdles into self-righteousness. Our generous listening is replaced by a desire to win. Our body language closes off, and our voice tightens with frustration. But what if friction wasn't a threat to your resonance, but an opportunity to demonstrate it? A truly polished personality doesn't just shine when things are easy. It shines brightest when navigating disagreement. The goal in conflict is not to win the point, but to win the relationship. It's to emerge from the friction not with a victory, but with a stronger, more resilient connection and a mutually agreeable solution. This requires a fundamental shift in mindset, from confrontation to collaboration. You must stop seeing the person across from you as an opponent and start seeing them as a partner in solving a shared problem. The problem isn't Tom is a jerk. The problem is a critical project is blocked and we need to fix it together. Here is a 3-step framework for applying the resonance principle to any difficult conversation, turning friction into forward motion. Step 1. Validate without conceding. Find the 10% you can agree with. When people feel attacked or unheard, they dig in their heels. Their only goal is to be validated. The fastest way to disarm someone and move them from a defensive crouch to an open posture is to give them that validation. This does not mean you have to agree with them. It does not mean you concede that you're wrong. It simply means you find the small sliver of their perspective, even if it's just 10%, that you can honestly and authentically agree with. You are validating their feeling or their intention, not necessarily their facts. Maria wants to fire back with, "You're wrong." Instead, she takes an anchor breath and searches for the 10% of Tom's email she can agree with. Is it true his launch is blocked? Yes. Is it true he's waiting on her team? Technically, yes. Is his frustration understandable from his point of view? Absolutely. She has found her entry point. She doesn't reply to the email. That's a terrible medium for nuance. She picks up the phone, or better yet, walks over to his desk. "Hey, Tom," she begins, her voice calm and collaborative, vocal blueprint. "I just got your email. It sounds incredibly frustrating to be blocked like this, and you're right to flag it as urgent. We absolutely need to get this sorted out." This opening is masterful. She hasn't admitted fault. She hasn't conceded anything, but she has completely disarmed him by validating his emotional reality. She has instantly moved from being his accuser to his ally. His defensiveness dissolves because he feels heard, generous listening. Now he's ready to actually solve the problem. Step 2. State your position with neutral language. Facts over feelings. Once you have validated the other person, you have earned the right to state your own perspective. The key here is to strip your language of all judgment, accusation, and emotion. You are not presenting an argument, you are presenting data. Use the facts, impact, question model. Facts. State the objective, observable facts of the situation. Impact. Explain the tangible impact of these facts. Question. Ask a collaborative, forward-looking question. Let's watch Maria deploy this. To get this sorted out, I just want to make sure we're on the same page with the process. I took a look at the ticket log, and it shows our system kicked back the initial request on Tuesday because a security certificate was missing. It looks like a notification was sent automatically. Without that certificate, the system can't grant the API access, which I know is the blocker you're dealing with. How can we work together to get that corrected form resubmitted as quickly as possible? Notice the clean, neutral language. She didn't say, "You filled out the form wrong." She said, "The system kicked back the request." She didn't say, "You ignored our email." She said, "It looks like a notification was sent." She is removing personal blame and focusing on the process. Her final question isn't, "Why did you mess up?" but "How can we work together?" This is the language of a collaborator, not a combatant. Step 3. Co-create the path forward. Build a shared bridge. You've validated them. You've stated your position neutrally. The final step is to build a solution with them, not for them. This is the application of the bridge narrative in a negotiation context. The problem is the shared friction, the vision is the state of resolution, and the bridge is the plan you build together. You can initiate this by asking a powerful, calibrated question, like the ones we learned in Chapter 5. What does a good outcome look like for you here? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again next time? What would be the most helpful next step from your perspective? Tom, now fully disarmed and collaborative, might say, "Oh, I must have missed that email. Can you just resend it to me? I can get that certificate attached and sent back in 5 minutes." Maria can now respond with generosity. "Even better," she says. "Let's do it right now, together. Pull up the form and I'll walk you through it. We'll have you unblocked before you're back at your desk." This is a resonant outcome. Maria didn't just win, she turned a potential enemy into an ally. She solved the problem efficiently, and she demonstrated to everyone copied on that email that she's a calm, collaborative, and effective leader who navigates friction with grace. She didn't just resolve the conflict, she used the friction to build social capital. This framework applies to any difficult conversation. In a salary negotiation, you validate your boss's budget constraints, state the facts of your market value and contributions, and then ask how you can co-create a compensation plan that works for both sides. When giving difficult feedback, you validate the person's hard work, state the neutral facts about the area needing improvement, and co-create a plan for their development. Navigating friction is the advanced practice of resonance. It's the ultimate test of your ability to manage your inner state, listen generously, and communicate with clarity and empathy even when it's hard. Master this, and there is no conversation you cannot handle with confidence and class. Chapter 10 Summary. Key takeaways. Shift your mindset in difficult conversations from confrontation to collaboration. The goal is not to win the argument, but to solve a shared problem and strengthen the relationship. Use a 3-step framework for navigating friction with resonance. Validate without conceding. Find the 10% of the other person's perspective you can honestly agree with. Validate their feelings or intentions to disarm their defensiveness. State your position with neutral language. Use the facts, impact, question model to present your side without blame or judgment. Focus on the process, not the person. Co-create the path forward. Use collaborative, open-ended questions to build the solution with the other person. Turn you versus me into us versus the problem. This approach allows you to resolve conflict effectively while building social capital and demonstrating true leadership. Action step: the friction rehearsal. Think of one upcoming difficult conversation you need to have, or one that you've been avoiding. It could be about a deadline, a family matter, or a performance issue. Take 15 minutes and script out your approach using the 3-step framework. Validation. Write down the exact sentence you will use to validate their perspective. I can see why you're concerned about X, or it makes sense that you feel Y. Neutral statement. Write out your FIQ statement. Facts. List the objective, non-judgmental facts. Impact. Describe the tangible result of those facts. Question. Write your collaborative, how can we question. Co-creation question. Write down one open-ended question you can ask to start building a solution together. You may not use this exact script in the real conversation, but the act of preparing it will arm you with a clear, resonant, and collaborative plan, transforming your anxiety about the conversation into a sense of prepared confidence. Chapter 11. The Network Weaver. Building Authentic, Lasting Relationships. The conference mixer was a sea of navy blue suits and forced smiles. Jacob hated this part. He was a brilliant software architect, but he felt like an alien in this kind of unstructured social environment. He clutched his lukewarm club soda, his shoulders hunched, his eyes scanning the room for someone, anyone, who looked approachable. His boss had been clear: go meet people, build your network. So, armed with a pocket full of business cards, Jacob launched his attack. He spotted a small group and hovered awkwardly at the edge until he found a tiny gap in the conversation. "Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm a senior architect at Omnicorp. We build scalable cloud solutions."
He thrust his business card at the nearest person. The group's conversation stuttered to a halt. One woman, a VP from a potential client company, politely took his card, glanced at it, and gave him a tight, professional smile. "Nice to meet you, Jacob." The conversation then awkwardly resumed, flowing around him as if he were a rock in a stream. He had made contact, but he had failed to connect. He spent the rest of the evening repeating this pattern, collecting a handful of cards and leaving with a profound sense of exhaustion and inauthenticity. He hadn't built a network, he had just conducted a series of human transactions. The word networking makes most of us cringe. We pictured Jacob, the awkward introductions, the transactional "what can you do for me" vibe, the feeling of being a commodity to be bought or sold. This entire approach is built on a foundation of dissonance. You are performing a role, the savvy networker, that feels inauthentic, and people can sense it from a mile away. A resonant person approaches this differently. They don't network, they weave. A networker is a collector, moving from person to person, trying to extract value. A network weaver, by contrast, is a connector. They focus on building genuine, lasting relationships. They think in terms of people, not contacts, of contribution, not extraction. They understand that a strong network is not a stack of business cards. It is a web of trust, generosity, and mutual respect. Weaving a network is a natural extension of living in resonance. It is the outward manifestation of your authentic core, your generous listening, and your ability to create genuine connection. It's less about what you do and more about who you are. Here is the Weaver's 3-part code for building a powerful, authentic network. Principle 1. Lead with generosity, the give-first mentality. The transactional networker walks into a room asking, "Who here can help me?" The network weaver walks into the same room asking, "Who here can I help?"
This is the give first principle, and it is the golden rule of authentic relationship building. Before you ever ask for anything, you must first seek to provide value. Value doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be small, simple, and offered with no expectation of immediate return. What kind of value can you offer? The gift of attention. As we learned in Chapter 5, true, generous listening is a rare and precious gift.
When you meet someone new, your first goal should be to simply understand them. Calibrate questions. What's the most exciting project you're working on right now? What's the biggest challenge your industry is facing? Be curious. The most valuable thing you can give someone is the feeling of being truly heard. The gift of connection. As a weaver, you are the hub of your growing web. Is the person you're talking to looking to hire a graphic designer? Maybe you know one. You should really talk to my friend Angela. She does brilliant work in that space. Let me introduce you. Connecting two people who can help each other is one of the highest forms of value you can provide. The gift of information. Did someone mention they are struggling with team productivity? Maybe you just read a great article on that topic. That's a tough problem. I just read a fascinating piece in Harvard Business Review about that. I'll send you the link when I get back to my hotel. When you lead with generosity, you completely change the dynamic of the interaction. You are not a taker, you are a giver. This creates a powerful, positive impression and lays a foundation of trust that a transactional approach never can. Principle 2. Find the common ground, the island of connection. Small talk is the bane of networking. Where are you from? What do you do? It's a boring, surface-level script that leads nowhere. The goal of a first conversation is not to exchange resumes. It's to move past the superficial and find a genuine human point of connection. I call this the island of connection. It's a shared interest, a common experience, or a mutual passion that exists outside of your job titles. Finding this island is what turns a forgettable contact into a memorable relationship. How do you find it? By asking better questions that go beyond the what and get to the why and the how. Instead of, what do you do? Try, what do you love most about the work that you do? Instead of, how long have you been at your company? Try, what was the journey that led you to this kind of work? Listen for clues. Did they mention their kids? A recent vacation? A book they're reading? A hobby? Latch onto that. You mentioned you were just in Colorado. I love hiking. Did you get to any good trails? When Jacob approached that group, instead of leading with his job title, what if he had simply listened generously for a minute?
He might have heard someone mention a frustrating flight delay. He could then join the conversation not as a senior architect, but as a fellow human being. Oh, you flew in from Chicago? I had a crazy delay there last month. Is it still a mess? Suddenly, he's not an intruder. He's a part of the tribe, sharing a common experience. This is the island. Once you're both standing on that island of shared humanity, a real conversation can begin. Principle 3. Master the graceful follow-up. Close the loop. Meeting someone is only the first 10% of building a relationship. The real work, and the part where 99% of people fail, is in the follow-up. A business card left in a pocket is a dead end. A genuine connection that is nurtured becomes a lifelong asset. The key to a great follow-up is to be prompt, personal, and purposeful. Prompt. Send your follow-up within 24 hours. This shows you are organized, intentional, and that the conversation was important to you. Personal. Do not send a generic, copy-pasted LinkedIn request. Reference your conversation. Mention the island of connection you found. Hi, Eleanor. It was a pleasure meeting you at the mixer last night. I really enjoyed our conversation about hiking in Colorado. It made me want to plan a trip. Purposeful. Your follow-up should have a point.
The best purpose is to act on the generosity you offered in the first conversation. As promised, here's the link to that article I mentioned on team productivity. Hope it's helpful. Let's stay in touch. This kind of follow-up is not a sales pitch. It is a continuation of the relationship. You are proving that you are a person who listens, remembers, and follows through on your word, an integrity rep. This is how you build a reputation not just as a competent professional, but as a reliable, high-value human being. This is the art of the weaver. Your network is not your net worth. Your network is your community. It's the web of people who trust you, who will help you, and who you can help in return. It is built not through a flurry of transactional handshakes, but through the patient, authentic, and resonant work of weaving one connection at a time. Chapter 11, Summary. Key takeaways. Stop networking and start weaving. Shift your focus from collecting contacts to building genuine, lasting relationships based on trust and mutual respect. The Network Weaver's Code is based on 3 principles. Lead with generosity. Adopt a give-first mentality.
Ask, "How can I help?" before you ever ask, "What can I get?" Offer the gift of attention, connection, or information. Find the common ground. Move beyond superficial small talk to find a genuine, human island of connection, a shared interest or experience that exists outside of your job titles. Master the graceful follow-up. A great follow-up is prompt, personal, and purposeful. It continues the conversation and, ideally, delivers on a promise of value you made. A powerful network is not a collection of transactional contacts. It is a community built on the foundation of your resonant, authentic self. Action step: the 3-connection challenge. This week, your goal is to practice all 3 principles of the Weaver. Identify 3 people. Choose 3 people you'd like to build a stronger relationship with. 1 can be a new person you plan to meet. 1 can be a casual acquaintance, and 1 can be a colleague you already know. Plan your give. For each person, brainstorm 1 small, no-strings-attached way you can lead with generosity. Can you send them a helpful article? Introduce them to someone. Offer them authentic praise for a recent accomplishment. Initiate and follow up. Reach out to each person. In your conversation, whether in person, on video, or via email, focus on finding a small island of connection. Then, within 24 hours, send a graceful follow-up that delivers on your give. This exercise shifts your mindset from passive network participant to proactive network weaver. It's a practical, repeatable process for turning simple contacts into a strong, supportive, and resonant community. Conclusion: living in resonance. Let's go back to Arthur Vance. He's the man we met in the introduction, the unheard expert. The brilliant analyst whose meticulously crafted solution was ignored, only to be celebrated minutes later when it was repackaged by his louder, more confident colleague, Leo. 6 months after that soul-crushing meeting, another crisis hit the company. This time, it was a sudden shift in the market that threatened their core product. The executive team was in a state of controlled panic. Ideas were thrown around, voices were raised, but no clear path forward emerged. Then Arthur spoke. He didn't stand up immediately. He waited, listening generously to the concerns being voiced around the table. He took an anchor breath, feeling his feet firmly planted on the floor.
When he began, his voice was not loud, but it filled the room. It was calm, grounded in his optimal pitch, and supported by his breath. "The fear in this room is understandable," he started, validating the collective emotion. "We're facing a genuine threat, the problem." He paused,
holding eye contact with the CEO. But I also believe this is our single greatest opportunity. It's a chance to stop playing catch-up and finally leapfrog our competition. Imagine if 6 months from now, we weren't just surviving this shift, but we were leading it with a product so perfectly adapted to the new market that our customers see us as their only choice. The vision. The energy in the room shifted. He had their full attention. The path to that future, he continued, starts with one core insight I've found in the data, the bridge. He then laid out his plan. He didn't just present the facts, he wove them into a compelling narrative. He used his hands not to fidget, but to make purposeful gestures that reinforced his points. His posture was open, his expression was engaged. He was not presenting a solution, he was the living, breathing embodiment of it. This time, there were no vacant smiles. There was a flurry of engaged questions. Leo, his old rival, was the first to speak. "Arthur, that's brilliant. How can my team support this?" Arthur Vance had not learned a new set of buzzwords. He had not adopted a fake, aggressive persona. He had not changed who he was. He had simply closed the gap between the brilliant man on the inside and the man the world saw on the outside. He had eliminated the static of dissonance. He was living in resonance. The journey is the destination. The journey you have taken through this book is the same one Arthur took. You started by looking inward, by conducting your authenticity audit to discover your core frequency and crafting your personal charter. You learned to become the architect of your own mind with the mindset matrix, rewriting the faulty code of your inner critic. You forged a core of unshakable, evidence-based self-trust, one integrity rep at a time. This was the essential, non-negotiable inside job. Then you turned your attention outward. You learned to tune your instruments of expression. You transformed your ability to connect by mastering generous listening. You unlocked the full, authentic power of your voice with the vocal blueprint and learned to broadcast confidence non-verbally with the body language of belief.
You discovered the storyteller's secret, learning to structure your ideas into compelling bridge narratives that move people to action. Finally, you learned to apply these skills under fire. You learned how to command respect under pressure by developing Gravitas, how to navigate friction and conflict with grace, and how to weave a network of authentic, lasting relationships. Each of these steps was a layer of polish, removing the tarnish of doubt, fear, and dissonance, and allowing the brilliant core self underneath to shine through. But polishing your personality is not a one-time event. It is not a project you complete and then check off a list. The resonance principle is not a performance you switch on for important meetings and then switch off. Resonance is a state of being you choose to inhabit moment by moment, day by day. It is a continuous, rewarding practice of aligning who you are with what you do. There will be days when you feel out of tune. You will get hijacked by your amygdala. You will fall back into ego listening. You will hear the whispers of your inner critic. This is not failure. This is part of the process. The difference now is that you have the tools. You have the awareness. When you feel that old, familiar static of dissonance, you will recognize it. You will know what to do. You can take an anchor breath. You can run a thought through the mindset matrix. You can perform a small integrity rep to get back on track. You can review your personal charter to reorient yourself toward your true north. You now have the power of conscious choice. Your invitation. The world is noisy. It is filled with people shouting to be heard, posturing for status, and performing a version of themselves they think the world wants to see. The result is a cacophony of dissonance. Your invitation is to become a source of clarity in that noise, to be the tuning fork in the room, to walk into any situation with the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who is fully, powerfully, and authentically themselves. This is how you instantly attract allies and dominate rooms, not with force, but with clarity, not with volume, but with congruence. People are starved for authenticity. When they encounter someone who is truly in resonance, they are drawn to it like a magnet. It feels safe. It feels real. It feels like leadership. The tagline of this book is instantly attract anyone and dominate every room.
But my hope is that you now see this promise in a new light. It is not about manipulation or control. It's about becoming so authentically you, so grounded in your own value, and so generous in your connection with others that people want to be on your team. You dominate a room not by overpowering it, but by providing its center of gravity. To help you begin this lifelong practice, I want to leave you with one final tool: the 30-Day Resonance Challenge. This is your integration plan. For the next 30 days, commit to this simple daily practice. It will take no more than 15 minutes a day, but it will forge the lessons of this book into lasting habits. Morning, 5 minutes. Prime your resonance. Read your personal charter, 1 minute. Reconnect with your values, principles, and strengths. Remind yourself of your core frequency. Commit to one integrity rep, 1 minute. Choose one microscopic, specific, binary promise you will keep to yourself today. Write it down. Perform a vocal warm-up, 3 minutes. Do a short version of the warm-up from Chapter 6, the resonant hum, a few lion's breaths, and reading one paragraph aloud with purpose. Throughout the day, micro-practices. Practice the 30-second presence reset. Before any significant interaction, run through the stance, breath, space routine from Chapter 7. Practice one generous listening challenge. In one conversation, focus solely on listening. Use a sacred pause, an echo or label, and a calibrated question. Catch and reframe one thought. The first time you feel the static of your inner critic, run it through the mindset matrix. Evening, 5 minutes, review and release. Log your integrity rep. Did you keep your promise to yourself? Put a check mark next to it. Savor that small win. Acknowledge one resonant moment, 2 minutes. Think back on your day. When did you feel most authentic, confident, and aligned? It could be a small moment, speaking up in a meeting, truly listening to a loved one, or simply feeling grounded under pressure. Acknowledge it. Set an intention. 2 minutes. Ask yourself, how will I show up in resonance tomorrow? That's it. This is not another overwhelming list of chores. It is a simple, powerful system for making resonance your new default. You have everything you need. The blueprint is in your hands. The rest is just practice. Go out and let the world hear the music that only you can make. Live in resonance.